Yeah, still it's morning, so I can say a very good morning to all of you. At the outset, I thank from the bottom of my heart to the World Education Congress to award the citation to me and the other stalwarts, and I'm extremely overwhelmed to address such an august audience. And today, I'm not going to speak too much into jargons and so on. I would like to keep the mood a little lighter. So I thought to stick to one theme, and we'll be discussing on innovation and creativity in classroom teaching. All the honorable speakers earlier had discussed a lot about sustainable development and how we can reach to the students through the digital platforms, as Mr. Karan rightly said, that it is inevitable for us to go away from the digital age. It is very imperative that we have a proper blend of the digital education as well as with the offline classes. As Principal Sir also said that the percentage cannot be decided by the UGC. However, I'd like to add one point that irrespective of whether it's digital learning or offline learning, the synergy which happens between a student and a professor or a teacher is more with a lot of human interactions, because the psychology has proved that the cognitive development of the student takes place more with personal interactions. So whether it's digital or it is offline, the personal interaction plays a very important role. And how we can enhance it, obviously, with innovation and creativity if we induce in our classroom teaching. This innovation and creativity has such a big canvas, right from, as ma'am said, that from kindergarten to even the postgraduate students, we can have innovation and creative teaching in our classroom to make the students learn in a better way. Albert Einstein had said that if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. We normally have a tendency to use a lot of jargons and maybe a little difficult phrases to let the students know a particular concept. But it's always better if you start to step in their shoes, be more empathetic, and be a little simple so that it'll be easy for the students to understand. So I'm going to speak about how we can be innovative and creative in a simple way. As my subject says, that didactics. Now, what is didactics? It is the literal meaning is that designed or intend to teach people something. Now, I would not say that this is old school. I do not believe into old school and new school, because learning is, I believe, this as good as immortal. So we cannot say that the earlier school was better or the earlier school was not better and the new age teaching is better. We are not going to go into that debate. So a didactic method is a teaching method that follows the consistent scientific approach or educational style to present information to the students. Now, if you see the didactic triangle, since ages, we have this pyramid or the triangle of didactic which we normally follow. That is the content, the teacher, and the student as a learner. So the teaching, training, and learning happens through assessment, development, and curriculum. This is what we have been following for so many decades or centuries, I would say. And now we are, as it is shifting to the digital age, we are going to be more creative and more innovative to induce students into learning. They should be able to enjoy learning. Why I've chosen this topic, because even though I have worked as a principal for 7 years in Sudhatai Manke College, earlier I was a teacher. I had completed my MBA, I did my PhD, but I stuck to my teaching profession way back when I was doing my BCom from Pune. So I came into this profession out of sheer passion. And I believe that all of us, irrespective of whether you people are so senior and are holding such august positions, we all have been teachers one day. So I believe that you should not kill that teacher within you. And every day you should always remember that you are a teacher first and the designations would follow later. So why new didactics? What has changed? Why is it that we need innovative teaching and creative teaching today? Because the pace of cultural change is accelerating more quickly than ever before. You might have seen that the last decade has seen a humongous transition of cultures. To students today are completely into metro-cultural behavior, I would say. They have inculcated all cultures of the world. As Sir rightly said, that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So when we say that we are into an age of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we need to respect other cultures. At the same time, today's generation easily adapts to different cultures. They do not find it very difficult, or they are quite flexible to adapt to different cultures. So irrespective of whether in which city, country or continent you are learning or teaching, but the intrinsic culture will remain there with you, but you can easily adapt to other cultures. Then Generation Z focuses on value. Today's student, they are not really more concerned about what exactly, we have had parameters while teaching that, okay, I will be doing BCom, then I will be doing some CA or CAs, then I will be doing this, then I will be doing that, etc. I will be having certain salary, I will be having a cabin, I would be having a designation, etc. But today's generation, they value satisfaction. They are more concerned with what value they are getting from a particular job or from a particular entrepreneurship. They are really not worried about, what in 5 years down the line and 10 years down the line, what they would like to achieve. But they are so spontaneous that they would like to achieve immediately when they would start working for. So they value time, they value, more importantly, the learning rather than they just want to pursue a particular degree or course. So the students are very smart day by day. The Generation Z is very smart as compared to the earlier generations. They are keen to experience choices. I remember Sir was discussing about this collaborative and, a lot of combinations of learning different programs as such. Today, students are always open to different choices. Why I'm telling you this is, along with when I was, right now I'm associated with Tirak Maharashtra Vidyapeeth, which just celebrated 100 years. So our university celebrated its century on 6th May 2021. So in our department, in Department of Management, my MBA students are also doing a Japanese course. They are also doing a Sanskrit course. A few students are doing a Sanskrit course. Few students are also into Indology, which normally students, when they offer HR, they want to study Indology also. So a lot of integration of courses is there today in our different disciplines. And I believe that this integration will help us for more sustainability in education, because students want choices, they're open for choices, and they're ready to respond to those choices also. With limited resources, colleges must decide which programs to add, expand, scale back, or eliminate. We are not going to go too much in detail about what different courses are in and what courses are out. But yes, this constant innovation in our programs also play a very important role. That what new you are going to give your students, that also plays a very important role to attract the students, to engulf them into better learning, engulf them into more practical training and practical learning. So how do we create this new pedagogy? Infuse innovation and creativity. So innovation involves a different way of looking at problems and solving them. With due respect to all of you, may I, could you please, any one of you, answer a question? Given a chance, which one is the better side, assets or liabilities? A typical commerce question. Given a balance sheet, what would you say? Which side is better, the assets one or the liabilities one? Okay. Anybody else from a commerce background or from business? Because this is not a commerce question, this is a business question. Okay. It has been proved that the liabilities are the most important, because assets are applications of liabilities. Where do we write the share capital? Where do we have the reserve funds? Right? So whatever resources we have, we put into liabilities. And how these liabilities are utilized, we show it into assets. The fixed assets, the current assets, the debtors, etc., etc. So these are the basic training programs which we normally induce to our students. So what I did was, I insisted one student that you do one thing, forget about balance sheet. Let's go for a cost sheet, basic cost and works accounting program. So I said, let's do one thing. If you don't understand costing, okay, I'll give you a task. You go home and for 1 week, you have to calculate how much expenses are done or how much do you expend on one lunch per day for a family of 4 people. So every lunch, what do you eat? Chapati, vegetables, etc., etc. So what are the ingredients? From where do we get that? So what I wanted to say is that if you want to teach students costing, let them go back or let them go to the roots. That costing is not just a certain formula, but to make them understand what costing is. These are the innovative techniques you can use in teaching the students. It compels students to use a higher level of thinking to solve complex problems. Innovation helps them to at least churn their brain cells, which are very, very important. With due respect to Karan, and I really congratulate you for your venture, and I'm sure that the digital age will definitely give you more sustainability in the coming decades. But given a chance, it is proved that too much of online classes are constantly, with less human interaction, students are getting dull. Their cognitive psychological processes are getting hampered, due to which they are not able to think about problems. Forget about complex problems, but to ascertain to a particular problem. Why? Because that human connection is not there, the human interaction is not there. So I believe that irrespective of what the UGC says, it should be a proper blend, as Karan rightly said, it should be a proper blend of the offline and online classes depending upon subject and depending upon the need of online as well as offline. As he said that, as ma'am said, chemistry ma'am, right? So for chemistry subject, practicals are inevitable, and in certain cases you need to have offline classes where you need to handle those experiments and the equipments and the apparatus and all these, and they are also a learning process. To come to a classroom handling those apparatus and those chemicals, this is also a very good way of teaching the students to know that, okay, this is, so human interactions plays a very important role. Then innovation involves a new way of thinking, thereby helping students develop their creativity and problem-solving skills. So however, innovation cannot be tested or graded, as we said. Innovation cannot be tested or graded into a certain parameter or by equations or by a certain formula. So they are very real and tangible benefits of innovation in education. So how do we do it? Challenge the students by giving them a problem that is more both authentic as well as interesting. Give students the basics, but keep it short. Don't spoon feed them. Just give them the basics, let them explore, let them go. Today Google is available, but apart from that, let them explore, let them search, let them try to identify the problem in that, let them try to identify what exactly they need to find out. So keep it short, don't spoon feed them. Then encourage students to research independently. When we were teaching for MBA classes, normally a consumer behavior is a typical topic which we normally teach the students. We insisted the students that you prepare a questionnaire, you go to any mall, you go to a supermarket, say Big Bazaar, wait there. We need at least 100 customers review from you. So you prepare a questionnaire, get the review from the customers who are actually dropping into Big Bazaar, that what type of purchase are they doing, why are they doing, in what quantities, how frequently do they come to the to Big Bazaar to make the certain purchases, or is it a routine for them to take the groceries and so on. So this will automatically help them or it will inculcate some research activities in them. Because just by making them sit in the classroom and telling them, okay, these are the research methodologies, this is what is sampling techniques, and these are the analysis, this is what we call as a hypothesis. They don't know about hypothesis, null hypothesis, nothing. But to inculcate, to make them understand that research, why research is important, because that research will automatically give them some type of or some information for which they can easily use to grow their business. So to inculcate research techniques in students, start from the basics or make them induced into small research projects. They may not be very technically oriented research projects, but a small project just to inculcate that skill of researching about a certain topic or researching about a certain content. So that plays a very important role. Then ensure that the students find innovative uses of everyday objects. that it depends upon their age, and as in the kindergarten they would be having more and more objects to play with, and with more and more shapes and sizes to handle with, and to know what is the different size and etc. And on a higher level, the objects would differ. Do not discourage students by grading their innovation or creativity into ranks. I'd like to share a small personal experience here. My daughter, when she was 8, she's now 13 years old, but when she was around 7, 8 years old, in school they had a typical drawing class. She is absolutely bad in drawing, that she confesses every time. So she made a painting, and I got a call from the teacher that, Dr. Bere, we would like to meet you because we would like to speak about Arohi. Arohi is my daughter's name. I went to the school and they said, see what she has done. So what she had done is, there was a small sheet of paper, around an A4 size paper, and there was, a complete sheet was made dark. There was a small house and a stream, and the entire sky, everything was dark, and there were some white spots in that. So they said, no, we are not able to figure out what exactly she has drawn, etc. Then I asked my daughter, Arohi, what exactly is this picture? What do you want to do? Is it that the house in the dark, or etc.? She said, no, Papa, I have just drawn that there is rain, and in the dark, how would I would see the rain from the window of my house? So are you getting? For the teacher, it was some serious psychological problem. But her innovation, that how would I see rain at night from the window of my house, that was the painting. So how would I judge or grade her creativity? So this is very important, that we need to understand that you should not grade in the innovation or creativity of those students. This is about very small children, but this cognitive process makes them build as a person in future. So the cognitive process goes on right from schooling to college days, and then your post-graduation courses and ahead. So why innovate? As the research, the National Training Laboratory says that typical when there is a lecture, only 10% is what the students actually remember when there is a typical lecture. And if you go down the pyramid, at the base of the pyramid, 90% is that what they remember when they actually teach others. Till date, even in our TMV, our university also, on every Teacher's Day, which is in the memory of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, we make the students, the senior students, go in the class and teach topic. If a particular MBA student is there, 3rd year, we ask him to go and teach entrepreneurship development to his junior students, or teach strategic management to the junior students, just to make them understand that teaching is not an easy task. Because before you teach, you have to learn a lot. So these are, absolutely, so these are the things which we need to inculcate. And still we are practicing, and believe me that the results are amazing. We are having amazing results, and the students are, in fact, more keen to learn. So this is what, when we innovate, this is what happens, that they remember more when you ask them to teach others, or you ask them to explore on their own. Creativity, I'll just run faster because I know that there is very stipulated time is there. So creative education is when students are able to use imagination and critical thinking to create new and meaningful forms of ideas where they can take risks, be independent, and be flexible. We need to understand that irrespective of whether it's a kindergarten child or a person doing his MBA or even PhD, they need to be independent, flexible, and they should be able to take risks. But unfortunately, many students just follow the bandwagon, and they just do it for the sake of doing it. They are not doing it to, even though I see many students, in spite of the fact that passed MBA with flourishing marks or for flourishing grades, they are not in a capacity to take risks. So life skills play a very important role in teaching. The curriculum, the syllabus, the course, the program, the details, all theory is ready, but how to apply the theory in practice plays a very important role, where these life skills will definitely help them to achieve their success. So these are the different tools that we have: role plays, demonstrations, radio show, mind mapping, storytelling, field trips, simulation games, and group discussions. I'll just run through a little faster. So role play, just to give you an example again, many students after their MBA, they turn out to the institute office in my cabin, because being an HOD, they come and they ask me, sir, what about our placements? right? So I said, okay, let's do one thing. Let's have a mock placement activity. So I make the students that you form any dummy company. One becomes the HR manager, one becomes the marketing manager, one becomes the finance manager, two people are some experts from the industry. Panel of 5 will interview your own peers in the class and see where you stand. This will make them understand that sorry, I'm using this, but a degree is an entry pass. This is what was said by Narayan Murthy in an Infosys program. A degree is an entry pass for you to be allowed to sit for the interview. Selection is much later. Selection is much later. So they need to understand that having knowledge is not sufficient. How they are applying it, how their skills are going to prove beneficial or profitable for the organization. So we make this role play happen in every session in their 4th semester before the actual interviews take place. You need to understand that how to face an interview, or you need to understand what happens when you are going to interview someone. As an HR manager, you are supposed to get the talent pool for the marketing department also, for the finance department also. So you need to understand that specialization is not the key to achieve a particular job. Irrespective of you have chosen a specialization of HR, marketing or finance, you need to have some basic knowledge of all the 3 specializations, even though you are going to choose a specialization as HR and entering into a company. Because even if you are an HR manager tomorrow, you need to know how much budget is there. You need to know that what are the financial objectives of the company, what profit margins are there, or what profit margins are we supposed to achieve in the next year. So on the basis of that, you have to pull the talent. So they are all independent and interdependent on each other. So automatically the role plays make them help them to understand these intricacies. So interpersonal skills, communication skills, developing insights, conflict resolution, group decision making, these are the benefits of having a role play. I will not go too much into detail. Again, mind.concept mapping, a small picture I've used from a school. This is how the teachers normally teach the students how life cycles are. Rather than just, preparing words to words, and they have drawn beautiful pictures out there. So if you see that if your life cycle is there, then the baby, then child, then adult and teenagers. So sometimes, these creative ideas to narrate a particular topic would definitely help you to make the students learn in a better way. Then is a season mind mapping. See how different seasons are there. So lovely pictures are there. So the students or the children would definitely remember these pictures, and they can associate that, okay, the bright sun means it's summer. Then the flowers, it's spring. So this is how you can use creativity into teaching. The scalar quantities. Once upon a time there was, be a storyteller. We faculty members or we teachers are storytellers, and believe me, it's a boon to us. It's not easy to tell a story, and it's not easy to gain attention of the audience. So use your lovely stories to engage your students into your communication and make them understand. Let them have a picturesque in their eyes. Let them imagine what you are saying. So that definitely will help them to understand it in a better way. If I'm supposed to teach strategic management, just by having some PPTs, as Karan rightly said, just having PPTs and the lectures, it's not going to help. But an expert who has actually spent some few years into strategic management actually speaks with the students, actually narrates a story, that how he faced problems into strategic management, etc., etc. This will help the students to learn in a more better way. Field trips, of course, we all have been going through this. I would like to just add one small example. Honorable Sir rightly said that. I think somebody narrated about the chocolates and the story, right? About the field trips. Yeah, exactly. So I remember that when I took my kids to Kidzania, I think it's in Lower Parel, I don't remember exactly. More than the kids, I enjoyed it more because, actually behaving like, delivering a parcel on that little scooter and going on, it's a very overwhelming experience, I would believe. So this is only an example, but as far as chocolates were concerned, he was talking about going to Lonavala Chikki factory and the Cadbury's chocolates factory. Having said and done, I made the students make chocolates in front of us in the school or in the college. Even at MBA level also, we have all these extracurricular activities. And believe me, all students love to become chefs that time, and they come with amazing food and they come with a lot of creativity. This helps their brain cells to churn a lot, or they make them their brain cells activate, which plays a very, very important role. More your brain cells are activated, whatever you learn, you can easily grasp it and remember it. So have a lot of extracurricular activities and a lot of field trips. So I remember when I had taken 20 students to Management Development Institute in Singapore. And for a month we were there, around 20 students were there, and it was proper field trip. It was nothing like a faculty development program or management development program or student exchange program, nothing. As a field trip, that how institutes work outside in the international, at the international destinations, try to compare our education system with that, because I remember all students on the first day were outside the class. Only one student was inside the class because their attendance or entry in the classroom is biometric. The day we reached in Singapore, all students' thumb were scanned and they were given a certain code. So if you want to enter a particular classroom, you have to punch, and if you are late by 1 minute, the door will not open. Punctuality, which we never follow. But believe me, in Singapore, I experienced this. They are so meticulous about punctuality. So the one who values time will definitely value everything in life. So these are the small techniques which you can induce into your program or into your regular teaching. Field trips, as I said. Simulation games. A lot of games, I don't remember the name of those brands or companies, but we have many simulation games on the virtual games available today. So while teaching finance, we induce students that you become a share broker. We will give you a kitty. We give them a virtual kitty of say 5,000, 10,000, and we make them that, okay, you said you simulate that, okay, if you are a share broker, how you would design a portfolio, or if you are a manager into a bank, how would you design a portfolio of a customer? So we all faculty members are the customers. This is your kitty. Now design a portfolio for me. My salary is XYZ. Now you tell me how you are going to design. So on these simulation games, he actually sets up a company. Then he has a board of directors. Then he has a certain market portal. And then he adds us as customers. And then he simulates everything. And then automatically he understands, okay, making a portfolio is not easy, or a financial portfolio. So if at my age of 45, after probably 10 years down the line, I'm going to retire, so what type of money should I save right now so that I can enjoy the fruits after 55? So unless they go into these simulation games by bookish knowledge or just by classroom teaching, is not going to help them. So obviously, these are the benefits, that the basic financial skills, interpersonal and teamwork skills, because when you are simulating a company, it's not that you are alone. There are 4 or 5 students, and there is a team, and they have to actually formulate a virtual company and then work on it. So this helps them to understand the basic concepts thoroughly. Group discussions, we are quite acquainted with group discussions and how it is beneficial. Many times group discussions end with debates. They never remain group discussion. After 2-3 minutes, they are always a debate. So it's also important that you need to understand that when you are in a group, can you maintain that, the ethos, or can you maintain it as a group discussion rather than not changing into a debate? Because many times we find out that after like 5-10 minutes, they start fighting on a particular topic and there is only yes or a no. So group discussion also plays a very important role. And this not only because as you might have seen that many students are very, very brilliant. They have tremendous knowledge, but they are extremely conscious about speaking. They have tremendous stage fright. Then what's the use of such knowledge if they are not able to depart it to the other people, if they are not able to speak to others, if they are not able to disseminate that information to others? So these life skills or these communication skills, these practices, group discussions will help them to develop these practices, and they can go away with the stage frights. Simple is beautiful. That is what my motto is there in life. I always like to remain simple as far as my profession is concerned. I do not use too many jargons. And in fact, I remember, with due respect to Dr. Philip Kotler, when marketing students enter my class, I tell them three things. No Pragati, Nirali, Sharp Notes, and Philip Kotler. You just sit in front of me and let's discuss, let's find out what new different concepts are there. Of course, why not Philip Kotler? Because they are not yet prepared to understand philosophy of Dr. Philip Kotler. It's not easy. So to make them understand to what level Dr. Philip Kotler is there, I need to keep them away from it first and then introduce it to them when they know the basic concepts of it. Of course, the old crow and the modern crow. So you can see the difference, how times are changing. So update yourself, it saves a lot of extra effort. So I definitely second the point of Mr. Karan that yes, we definitely need a digital teaching or digital learning in the classes. Percentage, let people decide on their own, but we cannot run out of this digital aid. At the same time, we should not run away from the regular offline classes also. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Mrs. Gurdeep Kaur, the principal of Shri Harshad Sivalia International School. It's a CBSE school in Andheri, located in Andheri.
Very good afternoon.
So now, it's not a question, but just I want to add a little to it.
Yeah.
You talked about we should not spoon feed.
Yeah.
We should innovate, and the best way to teach anyone is to learn it yourself first, right? So I just want to add, we have in CBSE we have 5 assessment schedules. So this year what we have done is one of the assessments, the children, this was an idea thrown to the teachers that one of the assessment, the papers will be set by the children themselves.
Wonderful.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So this idea was just thrown to the entire staff.
Absolutely.
And to my amazement, there are always those innovative teachers. Grade 1 came up with such wonderful self-made, self-framed questions.
Absolutely.
Grade 1 talking about mathematics, my mom has a garden where it has a flower pot, has 2 red roses. And if she has so many more, how many more will be? How many roses in all?
That's lovely. That's
so,
lovely.
you know, I mean, we I think, underestimate children.
Yes.
We have to give them the freedom to explore, to experiment, to do things. So I'm sure if grade 1 can do it, there is no way that the others are not going to be able to do it.
Very
so
true.
one of the assessment patterns, one of the assessment schedule is going to be where they are going to set the paper, and we are not actually going to see whether it is right or wrong, how
Very true.
innovative according to their level they have been.
Very true. Very
so
true.
I just wanted to add this.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a wonderful gesture which you people are following in the school. And it really it happens because I remember in our MBA schools also, when the students ask us, because on a Teacher's Day, we have a week to celebrate Teacher's Day. Every week, an entire week is dedicated, and all disciplines from the university participate in that. And when we are in front of the students and they are the panel and they are asking us questions, or if we are supposed to attend a business quiz, we literally have butterflies in our stomach, because sometimes it's very difficult, because that consciousness that what will happen if I'm not able to answer in front of my students. They're very smart. But this automatically will help us both, rather even the faculty will also tend to realize that yes, we need to always keep ourselves updated. Whatever topic you teach, whatever discipline you teach, we need to be updated equally, because they are more smarter than you.
So I'd like to add one more thing. So
Yes.
to cater for this, we have something called Bachon Se Charcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so wherein the entire program is organized by the students and for the students.
Superb.
So we have experts, whether it's a radio jockey or it's a pilot or anybody from the industry, where these children are shooting their questions to them and
Absolutely.
interacting with them. So this
Fantastic.
really helps to, update them
A
about
lot.
the industry, and at the same time know how to communicate in a
true.
particular platform.
Very true. Just small example I would like to quote, the last example, after that I would not speak too much. In my college, we practice this also. Every year, just before the admissions, every year, normally in June, July, the admission process starts. In the month of May, right from brochure making to sitting on the reception, attending calls, everything is done by my senior students. The TY students sit in the college, they sit in the reception, they sit in the administration department, they monitor the entire admission process. They need to know that it is not so easy to run an institute. So these are again life skills, as I said, that when you are on a reception, Very good morning. I'm from so and so college. May I help you? These 3 sentences makes the other person comfortable. So these small things actually really matter in life rather than typical big jargons and big ideas and so on. So this is what we are normally follow in our college. Another question?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.